Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Discover the Paranormal with All Out Paranormal. Thank you for being here. And to start off with, we're just going to do hashtag AOP. Okay. In the comments, when people start coming in, type in hashtag AOP, and I will be giving a couple of AOP shirts away. Once we get more people commenting and watching, I will tell you what I have available. Sound good? I'm not giving any pictures away this week. Anyway, this week I have a very special guest. She's fascinating. I've been reading about her and watching some of her podcasts and stuff today, and this is going to be fun. So my guest is Marla Brooks. And where's she at, Dave? There she is. Hi, Marla. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. And we should explain that I'm not worried about catching anything from you guys, hence the mask. Just a little dental work that was doing and didn't get done in time. So rather than scaring off everybody that's going to watch, I will put the mask on. All right.
Hey,
we can get down to business now.
Fantastic. Well, like I said, this is pretty laid back. We just talk about the paranormal and whatever comes up. And what we usually do is I just start out and have, if you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how long you've been doing this, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, this is like either witchcraft or ghost hunting or all these different things. I mean, I've got too many hats on, I think. But I've been, all right, let's put it this way. And I do this about my show. It's all about the metaphysical. So you can take this piece and that piece. And I guess I've been doing it all my life, actually. Because I grew up with a family that my mom saw ghosts. My great grandmother was a witch, and so very open minded about that.
Yes,
and
that's
when
cool.
Little kids were reading Dick and Jane, I was reading The Littlest Witch. Yeah, they were starting to worry about me that early. But so yeah, I mean, it's just the way of life for me. It's nothing that I started. I mean, I started paranormal investigating, several years ago. They weren't doing it before then, but I was also reading Hans Holzer's books when, as a teenager, and he, the wonderful ghost hunter that he was, and he had a witch with him, Sybil Leek. So, this was very cool. So it's what I do. It's how I do it. And
That's
on my show.
That's awesome. So you said early on you were a freelance journalist.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose we should tell everybody she does live in
L.A.
California, L.A.
Uh-huh.
And I thought it was fascinating how all this comes together, and you did interviews with celebrities and stuff, and then your one book. I think which one, the Hollywood one.
Yeah. The Ghost
is the first
one
you're gonna get.
The Ghost of Hollywood, yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's one of 3, which is pretty cool. But yeah, when you live there, and I mean, Hollywood is haunted all over the place. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because I wasn't going to do a book, on that. And a friend of mine who runs Dearly Departed tours, and he knows where the bodies are buried and how they got there and everything. They wanted to do with Schiffer a book with him, and somehow he backed out on it. And they said, well, can you find anybody else that can do it? And he says, yeah, Marla. And all of a sudden I'm getting a knock on the door from Schiffer, which is really interesting because so many people want to write books and can't get a publisher. And I had somebody coming to me. So, but I got to go out and investigate lots of scary things and spooky things and haunted things in Hollywood. And it's really interesting because it's got a lot of Hollywood history as well, and a lot about the celebrities and, good stories. But we went to places that I had been before, but never thought that they were haunted, because the other other interviews I was doing were, well, I was working for Cat Fancy, so I was interviewing celebrities and their cats, and just other different ones for different magazines. So it was kind of an interesting thing to, okay, I'll write this book, and yeah, we get to go ghost hunting too. So that was cool.
That is cool. So,
Yeah.
what's the most interesting place that you investigated in California?
Well, the creepiest place was the Hollywood Wax Museum for several reasons. In the first place, they have stories all about it, and most of them are fake. They were doing it for publicity. Because they said, like, some guy from the Inquirer spent a night there, and when they came to pick him up, he was banging, scratching on the door and trying to get out, that kind of thing. But it's really weird to do an investigation in a wax museum, lights out, and it was really spooky. I was standing there with a friend of mine. They have a chamber of horrors, so I was right in front of the Dracula thing. And we were just in a hallway, a very thin hallway. And Scott, who dearly departed, Scott, you should have him on your show. He's so funny. He's a Hollywood historian, all about this kind of thing. So we were standing there, and he didn't really believe in things then. He liked to go out on investigations, but sometimes, he would be rolling his eyes about it. So we were standing there and we're looking, because the other part of this wax museum thing is some of those wax figures are horrible. I mean, I didn't recognize John Wayne's. That's how bad it was. So anyway, we're standing there and we're looking at this Dracula who looked nothing like it should. And all of a sudden we hear footsteps coming. And, but the other people that were with us were out in different parts of the museum. And we hear footsteps, and it gets louder and louder and louder. And all of a sudden, it's like walking down the hall behind us. It got louder and louder. And we both didn't want to say anything to each other because we didn't see anything. But the footsteps were like right behind us. And then it faded away as it went the other direction. And I looked up at him, and he's very tall. And he looked down at me, and I'm very short. And we just looked at each other. And then we went back and looked at the wax dummy for a while, because it was very it was
that's
neat.
Interesting.
Yeah, it really was. And so, I think that, but it's creepy because, wax museums, you see all these horror movies when you're kids about murder in the wax museum and stuff, and then here we are bumping into statues and things. So, and that looked really good either. So that's a really neat place to go.
Neat. I'm going to shout out here to Brent and Kim. Thank you very much. Thanks, Brent. He's an awesome guy. I graduated high school with him. And if you see down at the bottom, if you hashtag AOP, tonight I'm giving away a couple All Out Paranormal shirts. So I see Kim has already done it. So good deal. When you interviewed Hollywood celebrities, did you ever interview them on a ghost story or anything that they'd ever encountered?
Yeah, I'm dating it back, but the original Love Boat series.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys ever watched it. All right. Bernie Coppell, who was the doctor,
Mm-hmm.
Got a hold of me from a friend, and he was writing an autobiography. And he wanted me to be his ghostwriter. And I said, okay. So I got to know Bernie really well. And he'd come over every week, and 3 times a week. And, we were doing this stuff. And he, at one point after we finished that, he did one of those, there was a celebrity ghost show when people came on and talked, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on there. And so, I didn't realize that. And I called him up and I said, all this time, because he didn't really believe in it, sort of, kind of, it was one of those things. And we weren't talking about ghosts anyway. We were doing his autobiography. But I had him on my show to talk about his thing. Then it was
Oh,
all
nice.
on his own, and he did see a ghost, and it was really, really interesting. And I think it's on my YouTube channel. I think it's still up there. So
Okay.
if you're interested, go listen to it. So
Yes, I
he
will.
tells a good tale. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is that the only one?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, because I mean, this was before I came out of the broom closet, and I think it was before I
Right.
had the show. So I don't think there was any reason to talk about it but I
Right.
don't think anybody brought it up. So no, they probably have stories, but they just didn't spill them up to me because we didn't talk about that. We were talking about cats and God knows what else. It's always
When
interesting. Yeah.
yes, that's for sure. I can't even. I mean, I've been to California twice, but I was I was never really little, but when I was younger. But I never went out and did anything when I was there. Not like when I lived on the East Coast and went to New York every weekend. But anyway, um, I don't even know where to start because there's so what. I mean, you grew up in a household where people had witnessed spirits and witches, and
And all the
so
houses I've ever lived in have been haunted in a sense. I mean, they all had activity. I'm not going to say haunted, but
right,
all of them have. And
right,
so that makes it, well, I think if you're somebody that's interested in it, if you're somebody that's empathic, if you're somebody that does investigations and everything, there's always like a light over your head, and they see it.
Yeah.
They say, okay, well, it's like a magnet, they'll come to you.
right.
So it just got to be second nature. Scary sometimes when you're a little kid, but otherwise,
Yes,
That's for sure.
absolutely. Um, so is this what you've always been a journalist and a writer for
hmm
your entire life?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I worked in a medical office for 100 years too, but on the side, I was working in the medical office and I was doing interviews for celebrities and stuff. So, yeah, I guess I've been doing this all along, and just I don't know. It's in my blood. Mm, I don't know.
Ex- exactly. Did you have something to ask? You can.
I know.
So when you finally come, I love how you said that. Come out of the broom closet. That's
Yeah.
so great. Um, what finally made you decide I'm going to do this?
It was after I did the first ghost book, and somebody from Para X Radio Network, which I'm still on now all these years, they got a hold of me and they wanted to interview me about the book.
Hmm.
And so we did it. And then the owner called and he says, do you want to have a show? Because Para X was just starting then. And I said, no. I said, all your shows are cookie cutter shows. It's all about teams going out and investigating. I said, you don't need another one of those. And he said, but wait a minute. He said, you have something else. And I said, what? And he said, which, and he said, you want to do a show about witches and interviewing things like that. And he said, he said, you can still do ghosty stuff and, whatever, but he said, you have something that I don't have in this, and I'd like you to have it. And I really kind of thought it wasn't a good idea because, coming out of the room closet, people have a bad impression of witches.
Yes.
And he said, look, he said, I'm going to take you back on my show. You're going to come back and you're going to talk about the witchcraft thing and see how they like it. Because, the chat room is there and everything. And I said, oh, okay, maybe. And it was funny because there was a guy on Para X at that time, and he was a bishop for the old Catholic Church.
Wow.
And I see him sitting in the chat room, and I think he's going to ring me out. I mean, it's going to be terrible. And he did ask a lot of questions, but fortunately I had the answers.
Mhm.
And, we got to be really good friends. He says, I want to know more about this. I need to learn. And that's how I ended up on Pair X, doing the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're on the air, you're out. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, but I think it's because I think people need to understand. People need to not hear everything about witches, about dancing with the devil, eating little children, and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Um,
Mhm.
so I think that's why I wanted to do it, because I wanted people to ask questions. I wanted people to know that I take the trash out every day, and I wash dishes, and I vacuum, and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we're
I
real
hear that
people. Yeah.
because
So
when I started with the boys 12, 13 years ago, I didn't know about any of this either. I mean, the more expos I went to and Paracons and stuff, it was really neat to actually learn about it firsthand and not just the regurgitated stuff that you see
With the
in
big
movies.
wart on the
Yeah,
nose, and
yeah, yeah.
and then I I don't. She followed me. She was a groupie.
I followed you. I did not follow you.
There's no shame in that.
Paragroupie. I couldn't get rid of her.
not a paragroupie.
Oh, let's see. Brent, my buddy, has a question for you. Marla, did you carry anything over from the practice in medicine to your modern witchcraft practice? Anything that could be used in both professions? Wow, great question.
Wow. Yeah, actually there is things that really are holistic, because it's a nature-based religion is the one that I follow. I
Right.
was just a lackey in the medical office, so I just that was just straight Western medicine, and it was even kind of before they had holistic things. So no, but it would have been interesting, because you look back now. I mean, a good friend of mine, Tim Shaw, who is a medium and all kinds of things, ghost hunter, whatever, and he found a doctor. His GP is also a pagan, so he gets the best of both worlds in treating it. But I think most doctors are coming around now to at least opening up to listen and find out about those things,
Mhm.
because
I
everything
think
else
so
is
too.
new again. I mean, people are complaining about pharmaceuticals and what they do to you and chemicals and everything, and people are more interested in getting holistic medicine. And yeah, it's a good deal. But I wish I could have done something then, thinking about it. But yeah, I just went and gave people shots and drew their blood. And, I was a vampire. I wasn't a witch. I was a vampire. Yeah.
Hello, Brandon. You make such an entrance when you come on, Brandon. He's our good friend of mine, and he's a shaman, and he has a show on our network,
Oh,
Shaman
cool.
Sundays. Yeah, he's an awesome guy. Dave and
Oh,
his Max.
Shamanism is very close to witchcraft as well. There's
mhm.
so many different things that are alike, and basically nature based. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because I mean, the only one I knew before that was Coyote Chris Sutton, and
And it's funny that you were open to Coyote, but when you first met up with me, you thought, oh, oh, I
I
don't know.
I keep telling everybody she turned me into a newt, but I'm better now.
Yeah, we do that once in a while. Yeah.
If I could only do
Oh my
that.
goodness!
Hmm.
But we lost Coyote Chris here a couple of years ago suddenly, and I mean I did some shows and stuff, but I never got to go to any of his drumming sessions or investigate with him. Now, you know, we cross paths for a reason, and Brandon, come along, and I'm actually going out there at the end of the month to spend a couple of weeks with him and do a paracon, and get to investigate with a shaman finally.
Cool. Very good.
She got lucky with love potion number 9.
That's right. I have a bottle of it.
Oh,
Always keep that in your back pocket. It never hurts.
Yeah, it comes in handy.
what? So, how long have you been practicing?
Maybe. When you're a kid and a teenager, you think you're practicing, so that really doesn't count. You're thinking about love stories and I want this guy and stupid stuff. Probably when I got to be around 30, I got serious about it. You look into things, you look back into history, because just because you say you're a witch doesn't mean you're a witch. You have to know things. You have to learn about the ancient ones and all kinds of stuff, different paths and all that. So yeah, it's probably been a long time, but it took a long time to get to this point. Just
Right.
because, kids, you play around. It's hocus pocus fun. Yeah. Now it's serious fun. Right.
If you could talk to like a group of young people who are deciding to become Wiccan and so on, what advice would you give to them about it?
There's so many different paths. I mean, there's Wiccan, which is one religion. There's dozens and dozens of types of witches. There's Santerias, there's gray witches, there are white witches, all over the place.
Right.
You have to do your homework. If you want to do that, look into all different types and decide which is best for you. Some people join covens, which is good and bad, because, well, I was an only child, and I don't play well with other people too well. I do, but when you go into a group, it's like going to a PTA meeting. Who wants to be the chief? Who wants to take over this? There's always that kind of stuff going on. And so you don't really need that. But if you're getting started and you want to join a coven, just look at some of them and see what they're practicing, whether it resonates with you or not. Don't tell anybody that you're wrong in your thinking or you're wrong in what you want to do, because witchcraft is very individual. I kind of am an eclectic witch. I take a piece from this and a piece from there, and follow that. I the Wiccan read and stuff. The threefold laws. When you put something out 3 times bad, 3 times good, you get it back. I believe in that a lot. And the other thing is, and ye harm none, do as you will. So, those tenets, but I got things from other things too. So if somebody's doing it, just pick up books, do your reading. There's really good books like from Scott Cunningham, the late Scott Cunningham. He's a really good one to read.
I agree with her on that. 100%.
Ray Buckland, bless his heart, bless his soul. He wrote some good books, and there's a lot of good books out there. And then you can listen to shows like mine, because I have all kinds of people, especially in the craft. All kinds. I've got hoodoos and voodoos and, green witches and water witches and everything. And so you listen to those and something will ring. The light will go over your head. And that's kind of when you know what your path was going to be. And then you just kind of follow that.
Good advice. I like that.
Yes.
I learned off that one too, so you need to catch up.
I've got a library in there if you
I
want
know
to read
you
anything.
do. I know. I got a library too to catch up with all the guests we're having. So.
I know that. My library spilleth over. Yeah.
Yes.
That's really interesting. I love the answer. I mean, it was so. Oh, here we go. My buddy Brent again. Rex and Marla, do you think there is something supernatural about taking a white canvas and turning into a recognizable piece of art, taking notes and turning them into a song? Are the people doing this actually witches? Wow, Brent.
Okay. I don't know that it's something new to me, that idea of doing that.
Well,
I don't know that witches do that. No witches I know do that, but I mean,
and it's interesting because both Brent and I are also artists, and he's
Mhm,
amazing.
mhm.
His stuff is amazing. He says the same thing about mine, but we're on two different levels. I think he's a few levels above me, but and we both have a love for music. So that was interesting. I never even. What a great question. That's one to research actually and see about that. That's interesting. Thanks,
Yeah,
Brent.
yeah, I hadn't heard it, so I'll have to think on that too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
I don't have an answer for that either.
I
Here
definitely
we
don't.
are, dumbfounded, all of us. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Not dumb, just dumbfounded.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. You have anything?
Well, as a witch, do you find that helps you be more centered, more grounded when you're doing paranormal investigations?
Well, yeah, I do it before I start. I mean, you do the relaxation, you call in the guides, you do the protection and everything. And yeah, I find that very comfortable to do. I think it's important to, some people, see, it's my thing that people go in and I can do it. I can call a ghost. Oh, you're going to challenge a ghost. And, like in anything, people should really know what they're doing before they get into it, because in investigations, people have been hurt. People have had bad experiences. People have had things follow them home, and these people walk around and say, "Well, look, I went to the cemetery and I sent about 200 ghosts back across the veil."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's my pet peeve. But yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable. I'm not one that'll run away. I
Yeah.
might break into a sweat or something. But sometimes it's funny too, because we were doing an investigation in an old firehouse in Hollywood. Um, it had been around since the 1920s, and they built a new one next door. But they turned this one into a museum. And there were a lot of us. We had a medium with us, because sometimes it's fun to have a medium with us.
Mhm.
And we were going up some stairs, and I was at the back of the pack because I was dawdling it, looking at something downstairs. And I started up the stairs, and somebody smacked my butt, but there wasn't anybody there. And I'm thinking, you raunchy fireman, I mean, those things. But sometimes if you're walking upstairs and there's somebody that's kind of being practical joking and not very funny, you could get tripped, you could, whatever, fall down the stairs. So I just get angry when I hear people say, "Well, no, I can do it. I'll never get hurt, and there's nothing bad out on the other side." And okay, sure, you'll find out
Yeah,
later. Sooner than later.
exactly.
Yeah,
Never say never.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And if you're not scared, you're not doing it. I
Mhm.
mean, there's going to be a point in time.
Right.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
when I first started, I was like, I, no, we're not separating. We're all going into the same room at the same time. Now, all these years later, it doesn't bother me. I love going out and doing it, but I tell
yeah.
everybody, yeah, I was scared to death when I first started doing this. I ain't gonna lie.
Mhm. Yeah, well, yeah, it's normal to be that way. I mean,
Yep.
people, I like people that boast, and I keep wishing that they get um, a reason not to boast anymore. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
You know, See, I'm biting my tongue here and there. Um, but you come across it. I mean, years ago when people first started going on investigations, they were really serious about it. They really cared. They wanted to learn. There were shows like the British one, Most Haunted, that
Hmm.
Hmm.
that came on before our American stuff done. And I'm really blessed because I do my show, because I watched Most Haunted, and when I was writing the Ghost of Hollywood book, I needed somebody to do the foreword. And I couldn't really think of it. I didn't know anybody. So I got a hold of David Wells, who was the medium on that show.
Mm-hmm.
And out of the blue, I just, okay. I asked him if he would not mind, doing a forward of a book. And he was really nice. And he said, sure. And he ended up doing the forward in 3 of my books. And then he introduced me to Karen O'Keefe, who was the guy on also, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I have met so many people, so many interesting people. I'm so blessed with all the guests, and you know that you meet people on the show,
Yeah.
and you would normally not have ever met these people.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
It's a blessing. That's all I can say.
Yes,
We live in
it
it.
is.
We learn from them, and they learn from us, and it's great.
And a lot of them have become very, very close friends. I mean,
Mhm.
it was Denise Pridemore. I mean, we were friends for at least 5 years before we ever met face to face. Finally,
Yeah.
it is, and I know it's used and people kind of scoff at it sometimes, but it is a parafamily. I mean,
Mhm.
we're all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Witches are all connected, though.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of them, like I said, that medium that goes with us all the time. I mean, she's a witch.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was a witch. See, here's the thing. We don't go up and tell anybody that we're witches generally. So, I got in touch with a guy who he was a videographer, and he wanted to do some of this investigations and stuff. And he said, would you mind if my girlfriend came along? She's a medium. And I said, yeah, it's great to have them around. And when I met her, I thought, something's fishy. You think of the back of the head, what is it? And we went back and forth, and she had the same feeling. She thought I was a witch. I thought she was a witch. And it took about 6 weeks before, I don't remember which of us broke the ice, And then, there you go. And there's another good friend. And so it's a close-knit paracircle, between witchcraft and ghosties and, anything metaphysical. We're all in the same boat. And I'm happy to be in that one.
Yeah, me too. Brent had another question here.
Yes.
This is awesome. I'm glad he's on doing this. It says, your talk of different witches had me thinking. I guess I don't know a definition of a witch. I guess the definition of a witch that makes the craft. Does that make sense? Sorry I'm talking so much. It's just very interesting and leads to questions.
Well, I like people asking questions. And, there's a whole lot of different types of witches. And again, you follow their path. I mean, some have labels, like gray witches. Those are witches that are not all love and light, but they're not dark witches either. Then there's Wiccas who are love and light, and they say they never do anything bad to people. Or, but here's the thing. Well, because I'm getting controversial on this, and if there's any Wiccans going to listen to this, I'm sorry. But, the ones that I've known said, yeah, we never will harm anybody in anything, in any circumstance. But you get to thinking, now suppose you're a mother and you're a Wiccan, and you're walking down the street and somebody grabs your child. Are you going to just sit there and have the love and light, or are you going to go out and try and beat the hell out of this person that's trying to interfere with you? So, you can't say never.
Exactly.
When loved ones are at stake, anybody, not just witches, will cross a line just to save things. So, it's just, what was part of the question? Because there was 3 parts. What did I miss? A definition of a witch. Okay. There's a lot of definitions where, again, me and most people are earth-based religions, and we use witchcraft spells to kind of manipulate energy and make things happen. And that's kind of what a witch does. I mean, back in ancient times, witches were the wise people. They were the ones that could go to plants and make pharmaceuticals, for headaches and all that. They were the midwives. And I have nothing against organized religion. I don't. But when Christianity came in, they had to recruit people, and they came and they took pagans, and they kind of used a scare tactic, saying, well, if you're not our religion, then you're going to go to hell. Well, pagans never thought about hell. There is no hell for them. But anyway, so we got a bad name, and a lot of people went underground for years and years, and there are still people that won't come out now. In certain countries, in some Saudi Arabian countries and around there, they still have witch hunts, and they do kill people that they expect are witches. So it's what you feel, you follow. You don't have to label yourself. You can be a witch, but it's basically not harming creatures and people, any sentient beings. We don't harm that. We worship Mother Earth, Earth, and not want to give it blowing up like we are maybe going to do sometime with all the chemicals and everything going up in the atmosphere and everything. So yeah, so that a witch is just that. I mean, it's what you feel and what you think, and it comes from your heart, and you're doing the best you can to help mankind and save the planet. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, Brent has another one here.
you know what? Okay, this is going to sound really stupid. I've heard the term butterfly effect so much, but I really don't know what it means. That's terrible, because it's really a common thing. So if you explain it to me, then I can answer the question.
I guess a butterfly effect is when you try to go back and change something for the better
in
the past.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends up changing the course,
the future,
okay. Each time you think, I'm going to go back because, my nephew got in a car accident and I could have prevented it. Well, you go back and do that, but then somebody takes the place of that.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, no, witchcraft doesn't do that. We do things for the here and now. We try to make things better. Some people want to get some money. Some people want to have protection. Some people want to do, those kinds of things. We don't go back and try and play with that. I mean, we know the ancient times. We know the burning times. We're not moving backwards. We're moving forwards.
Exactly. Yeah. And Brent, don't be sorry. And this doesn't have to be your last question.
No, it's fine.
It says, this is what he just said.
On changing something that has the effect of the future. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, people always say, well, I want to ask you something, but it's going to sound stupid. Well, no. If you're asking questions, you're not stupid.
Yeah.
That's when you want to learn.
Yeah.
So, always open to that. Sometimes don't always have the answers, but yeah.
I mean, I educated some coworkers not to spray the dandelions because that's the bees' first food in the spring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They said, "Oh, we didn't know that." I said, "There you go."
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, people just, they're afraid. I don't know why people are afraid to ask, but and sometimes I do that too. If I'm going to ask something, I hope this doesn't make sense. I mean, I hope it makes sense to you, because we're not sure what we're asking maybe. But
right.
It's important to talk about it and find out about it and learn. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Learning is the key word.
And that's what I did. I mean, because I didn't know anything about witches or the metaphysical or anything when I got into what I was doing. And I mean, now I've gotten to see so much more than just, tunnel vision of what most people grow up with. Yeah. And I think it's great. I'm learning more tonight too. So that's awesome. I was going to answer Brent right quick. You said the craft.
Mm-hmm.
A chance to talk with the witch. I've never had a chance to talk with the witch. That's what Brent says.
Here I am.
Well, Brent, you met me.
As far as the craft, I as putting something to canvas, I do use some of my paranormal experiences into my drawings and my pictures. I was just going to let him know that. I mean, but I do certain experiences and stuff that I've seen, and you know, been a lot of places in the last 13 years, so it's
Mm-hmm.
helped.
You got things etched in your brain of things that you've seen, and
Yep.
things that you probably didn't want to see, and it won't go away anyway.
Yeah, there's some stuff that has happened, and I have drawn pictures of it, and and try to explain to people. Luckily, I can draw because it's so hard to. You can tell a story.
Try to describe what you saw, but
you can only describe it so much in words, and then be able to, bring it to life on a piece of paper. And thank goodness I can, because there's been some really strange stuff over the years that I have no explanation for.
That's the thing. We're never going to have explanations, true explanations. We have to form our own thoughts and go with that, because I just think anybody on the other side, they can come down and they can show themselves and they can do all kinds of things, but they can't talk. They can't spill the beans about what it's like or anything else like that. And so, yeah. And I think that's why people kind of don't believe in it, because they can't prove it. But you know what? You can't prove energy either, supposedly. But witches work, well, yeah, it's witchcraft. To raise I'm trying to think, is it metaphysical or what? To raise energy. You want to try it? You want to feel energy? You guys?
Okay.
Yep.
Put your hands together and rub them as fast and as hard as you can until it gets really hot. Really,
Mr.
really
Miyagi.
Hot. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, and when it gets a little bit too hot or your arms are getting too weak, just kind of stop for a minute and feel the tingle, and then open your hands a little bit this way. Now just try a little bit to close them, and if you're doing it right, and it doesn't always happen the first time, it'll feel like two magnets going to each other. You can feel it right in here. And if you have that, one of the spells or things that we use is a witch's ball. So if we want to send something, healing, for example, you want to send healing to somebody, you're doing Reiki from a distance, you make the energy ball, and then you hold it like this, and when you're ready to pass it, you say that either a spell or what you want, and you just go send it out to them, and it really works. So yeah, so they say, somebody said, well, I'll have to think of it. It was something about, well, you can't see anything in nature, but it's there, or something like that. But it was kind of like a smack on people who didn't believe and stuff. But I didn't remember yet the whole thing. Anyway, go ahead.
That's and it's people say, well, I've never seen it. If I can't see it, it's not there. And I'll say, well, can you see the wind? No. But can you see the effects of the wind? Yes. So, and I just tell people, if you're a skeptic, it's just somebody that hasn't experienced something yet.
Well, yeah, it's okay to be, cynical is worse. But I mean, I've given up a long time ago to talk to people about trying to convince them of anything, about ghosts, about witches.
Right.
You just can't. If they don't agree with you, okay, that's fine. Maybe I don't agree with something that they do, but you can't change people, and we don't try to, either in the witchcraft or the ghosty thing. It's up to them. If you don't want it, don't associate with us. But
Exactly.
we have our own belief system, and you have yours. But too many people try to change people.
Yes.
Right.
I had my first producer on my show. He said one day, he said, "Aren't you afraid of being a witch?" And I said, "Why would I be afraid?" He says, "But you're going to go to hell." And I said, "Really? Okay." I said, "Well, in the first place, we don't believe in hell. Hell on earth is bad enough."
Right.
And I said to you, well, who do you think I pray to? Because polytheists, sometimes, in depending where you're doing, you do have gods, goddesses, whatever. I said, so I said, who do I pray to? And he says, "God, I don't know." And I said, "Well, I said, I pray to God. I pray to Jesus. I've prayed to the Mother, Superior Mother, and Supreme Mother. But I said, you know what? I think there's only one being up there. One. And he's got a name from every country and every place all over the world. But it's the same person that you're worshiping. You're just calling him a different name."
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And, because in witchcraft and paganism, we don't have dogma. We're not telling everybody that this is what we're doing and this is how you have to do it or you're going to burn in hell. We don't teach by fear. And again, I have no problem with that. I mean, some of my best friends, I have a Jewish witch friend, really close witch friend. I know Christian druids. You don't have to give up your religion to be pagan.
Right.
You can follow whatever you want. You just don't judge anybody else's. And so pagans embrace everybody and just it's all good. And so yeah, it's kind of weird, to deal with people sometimes. And I mean, okay, so here I wear a pentagram, okay?
Mhm.
And somebody said, "Well, how do you explain that? That's a sign of the devil." Well, it's not the sign of the devil. It's the four elements: earth, air, fire, and water, and the circle is spirit. And when I first bought my first pentagram, I went into a shop, and this guy, oh my God, he looked like Mr. Clean, but he had a lot of tattoos and witchy stuff all over him.
You just described me to a T.
Well, there you go. And he was scary. You're not scary. But I said, do people complain about wearing pentagrams? I said, I really want to. And he said, well, first of all, think of it as a pagan St. Christopher medal.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, if you go back in history, back in ancient times, in the Jewish synagogues, they had pentagrams in their glass windows. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, the pentagram means, and no harm shall pass. And that's all it is. It's a pacifistic, that's the word, thing. And it's he said, Hollywood really made it a bad thing,
Mm-hmm.
all the devil. And if it's pointed downwards and there's the goat and whatever. I mean, it's Hollywood. And, and I was really surprised to hear that story about it being in the synagogue, in the stained glass synagogues of all places, And so, I wear it and it comes in handy. Like if I'm in the supermarket and the line is really long and I get in line and people see it, they kind of like part the water, part the cheese. Yeah. Oh, we forgot something. We'll be right back because.
Well, mine doesn't have the circle around it. Mine's open.
Yeah, yeah.
Because with where I work, I kind of have to blend in.
Yeah, well, I take it off. Like when I went to the dentist, I take it off because, I can see them digging in my mouth and doing all this and seeing that and going, and walking away. No. So, yeah, I mean, there's a time and a place. And they also make pentagrams that don't look like the 5-star.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of are camouflaged. Now, this one's kind of camouflaged, but you can't really see it. But
Yeah.
it's got, flower stuff around it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some that you can wear, and they're like rounded instead of pointed and stuff, and you would just think it's a nice piece of jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Or, but, if I take it off, then I just stick it in my bra. I just want to wear it somewhere. because you're comfortable with it. I mean, it's just like people wearing the Star of David, or some, people wearing the cross. It's something that you believe.
I've had people ask me if it was the Star of David, and I'm like, no.
Close.
Star of David has 6 points instead of 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, but that's why you should just say it. It's okay. Yeah, it is. But I broke off. No, never mind.
Yeah. Brent has another question here.
Mm-hmm. The 5th point is earth, fire, water, and air.
Spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And the circle is what holds it all together.
Yes.
But it's all the same. When you have the 5 elements, you're good. Whether it's got a circle or not. I just got this one because it kind of doesn't stand out too much. People are a little strange.
I just want to catch up here a little bit. Hi, Evelyn, Kathy. Evelyn, you should have gotten your print today. Please tell me you did. It was supposed to arrive to you today. Brent, cool. And remember, everybody, I'll right quick. I'm giving away some of the old AOP T-shirts. So make sure you hashtag AOP in the comments. I got 2 different ones, of course. AOP, All Out Paranormal came up. The free hugs. And you'd be surprised how many people would stop at the booth for a free hug.
Oh.
And
because it doesn't COVID.
Yeah, before COVID. And that's on the back. I have these from small to 2X. Unfortunately, these, I've only got 1 small and 2 mediums left. So I've revamped our logo and everything. So I'm figured people wanted them. I just give them away.
Evelyn says I had a package, but
nothing. So maybe tomorrow. I hope so. I was going to give you the tracking number. I'm sorry. I'll check it after the show and let you know. Oh, there's Kathy put hers in. No. So, yeah, I got that in right quick. I hope everybody, I'm limited on sizes on the black one. That's just that there. So, anyway, this is
such a pretty color.
Most of my shirts are that. I'm
yeah.
actually 99% of them. So.
Yeah, I almost had something. I like wearing black. I mean, it in witchcraft it deflects negativity. It doesn't absorb. So yeah, it's a good thing to wear black.
I know you got some more to ask. I'm always the mouthpiece.
You like to talk.
What? I'm an introvert. I can't talk to anybody.
Pinocchio knows it's going to grow any minute now.
Yeah, right there.
There we go. Yeah. What is your biggest oh crap moment with the supernatural? And that's funny because we'd usually say oh shit, but he put oh crap.
That was good. I actually had something follow me home one day.
Ooh.
We were at a bank building. We were doing an investigation on Hollywood and Highland, and it was one of these 1920 buildings, and it was just tall and beautiful and very Art Deco on the outside. And they only had 2 people there because for some reason, nobody wanted to work in it. It was like 11 stories, 12-story building. Wow. So we were out downstairs. There's a bank in there. Bank of America was there. And they had downstairs where the guy that just took care of the property was there, the manager. And they had a big thing where you could just walk in the vault, with the big door and the time and everything. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we had a good investigation, but I never get EVPs. I'm really lame about getting EVPs. I try, but it never works. So when we got done with the investigation, we were down there, and I just said out loud, and I said, just give me something. Just talk into this for once. I just want to have an EVP that I could understand and know that I got it. And nothing happened. So everybody had parked by my house because we were about a mile away from there. And as we're standing there, people were getting in their cars and leaving, and a couple were left. And all of a sudden, I hear something in my purse talking. Well, that's weird. And I knew I had turned off the recorder and whatever. And I reached in and picked it up, and it came right to the point where he said, well, please give me a clue, tell me, or you say something. And I'm thinking, how, even if I turned it off, it should have rewound, and it shouldn't have stayed in that same place. So I didn't really think much of it. But we had come in contact, we did a seance down in the vault, and our medium saw somebody that was, she said it's a guy. He's dressed in 1940s. He's got slick black hair. He looks like a mafia guy, and his name is, and she gave me his first name. I think she gave me the second name. And I thought, oh yeah, okay. So the next day I went ahead and I went looking for this guy. I put the name in and I looked for a picture, and the picture matched her description of what this guy was. And I thought, wow, that's weird. But it was good, it means we did well. So I had a dog, 2 cats, and a bird. And they started acting up a lot. And I thought, wow, I don't know what's going on in here. And at the time, the guy that I was living with, he walked in one day and he said, I don't want you to be afraid or anything, because I was in my office. He said, but this big black figure walked into the bedroom. And the minute he said that, the bird started squawking, and it got so bad I couldn't cover the bird up at night, and he was in his cage, and I thought he was going to die from flapping around. Mm-hmm. And so I got a hold of another friend of mine, Tim Shaw, and I said, what do you see? What the hell is going on here? This isn't good. And he took his time, and he came back and he said, I'm laughing, but I don't think you're going to think this is funny. And I said, what? He said he told me his name, and I hadn't told him the name. And I said, okay, I know what that is. And he said, don't laugh, don't be mean, don't be mad, but he's rummaging through your underwear drawer in the bedroom. And I said, and I'm like, oh God, well, how do we get rid of him? And he says, well, he says he's not leaving. And, and I wasn't mad about me, but all the animals were getting really upset, And so I talked to another guy. There was a guy, I don't know if you remember this. He was a psychic to the stars. His name was Kenny Kingston. Mm-hmm. He had a show, and he was a good friend of mine until he died. And he always said, you got to be really careful with these spirits, because sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. And he said, there's a couple of ways to get rid of them. He said, I called him up too, and I said, Kenny, there's somebody here, and I can't get rid of him, and he's in my underwear drawer. And he's laughing like hell, because he had a really good sense of humor. And he said, look, there's 2 things you can do to get rid of a spirit. He said, put a little salt in your hand and lick the salt. He said, it is so diverse, it makes them go away. He said, it's like telling you, if somebody comes and asks you to come to their house for dinner and you say yes, and they know you don't like liver, but you're going to serve them liver, are you going to come? And I said, well, that's a great analogy. So he said, but also put salt around all the windows. And, when you feel that he's not there, because he said they don't stay 24/7, they pop in and out. But he said, when you feel he's not there or you don't hear it, just put salt all around the place. So I did that when he wasn't there. And my desk was sitting by the back door, and there was a window right here, and I could see kind of the back porch. And I'm working at my desk on the computer, and all of a sudden I see this arm with a shirt, bright blue shirt, and it's the old-fashioned button-down short sleeve men's shirt kind of thing. and I could see some black hair, but I didn't see the whole thing. But it was like a real person standing there. And I got up and I opened the door, and nobody was there. And I guess he popped away for a minute or something, but there was no way that anybody could get out. It was the driveway, and you couldn't get out. We had a fence there and a fence there, so clearly,
Mhm.
it was a full body. And I ran back in the house and I shut the door, and I heard on the door, and I guess the salt worked. He couldn't come in, and he didn't come back from that. So things happen, and fortunately, it didn't harm the birds. The bird was the one that was most. The cat would put the fuzz up, but the bird was really, really. I think that bird was kind of like a familiar. That bird could see, because that house up in the front room and stuff, there was activity up there all the time. And that bird knew when something was in the house. And yeah, it's kind of like my little watchdog, but it's a little cockatiel, so it wasn't like a big bird to scare anybody. But yeah. So, all right, that's my followed home story.
Kim has a great question here. Have any of you ever had an experience that made you want to walk away from the paranormal investigation? I want to hear Joy's answer too.
Me? No. I mean, I think I'm careful enough that I've never really gotten into too much trouble, except that one time when I got followed home. But no.
Well, the only thing I can think of would be this investigation that I went on. Kind of freaked me out. I mean, I had a spirit punch me in my lower back, and that made me say, whoa, wait a minute, I don't know about this. But then I talked to a friend of mine who wasn't in the paranormal, and he said it could have been, a child's spirit that was mentally challenged or physically challenged or something and didn't realize they hit you hard and was just trying to get your attention. And I thought about it for a long time, and I thought, well, yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, that's been the only thing that's made me want to walk away from it. I mean, I've had spirits follow me, off and on, and but I've learned to pay more attention to that feeling that they're behind me and say, you need to stay here. You can't come home with me. I'll come back and visit you sometime, but that's, yeah.
I've had some really disturbing stuff that's happened, but as far as me ever wanting to walk away, no.
We're a bunch of brave souls here. Or we know what we're doing, so it's not,
Yeah.
Yes. Kathy had a question. I believe it's because you're talking about protection and stuff. She says, do you think you are protected to get, or think you are too protected to get EVPs?
That's a possibility. Yeah.
You're welcome, Kim. Yeah, I mean, when she was saying she, I could send you some of the EVPs I've caught over the years. I mean,
yeah, there's some great ones out there. I mean, my friend Bruce Tango, who his son's on, when he's on Ghost Hunter sometimes.
Uh-huh.
He is a whiz about EVPs, and because every time this house is haunted and stuff, and he goes, well, why don't you do an EVP session? But up in one area, it's not comfortable. I will not do that. Get on the plane. You come over and do the EVP session there. He doesn't have any fear. But yeah, maybe next time I put protection on myself, I'll say, well, no, EVPs are okay, because they do listen to you, and maybe
yes,
those that protect you maybe go a little bit too far. But so you have to be specific. Good thought, though. That was a good question.
Yes, it was. We had some great questions tonight. Absolutely. Oh, I've got I got a message here. So again, I guess everybody we've only got 3 entries so far, everybody. So if there's other people that haven't commented, you can just comment hashtag AOP in the comments, and you're in for the drawing at the end of the show. And I'll just need your information where to send it to, and it won't cost you a thing. So, and like I said, it's limited on what size shirts I've got, but you get to choose. So, or you can have one of each. That's fine with me too. I just want to get the new ones made here pretty soon. So, which I haven't done in years. Fine. Oh, Marla's links are authors. Okay. I thought it was another question that got thrown up there. So, being in California, did you ever go to the Tate Mansion?
After the murders, yes. It was empty at that point, but my friend Scott Michaels, the dearly departed guy, he said, "You want to go up there and see it?" And I went, "Yeah." So he took me up there, and there was definitely a kind of negative atmosphere up there. And then there's a guy named David Oman. You might want to have him on his show. He lives 2 doors down from where the original place was and where the murder takes place. And his house is haunted, very much so. And we actually did. It was really neat. Para-X let us do a 5-hour investigation in the Oman house.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was great. People, there were 3 of us that were taking turns at the mic, and, others are going out and investigating and stuff. And I know we went outside. We had trouble, and they had really good Wi-Fi up there, but when we got there, it kind of dropped off on us, like somebody didn't want us to do that kind of thing. And my producer was going crazy. Well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Because we couldn't get phones. It's up in the Hollywood Hills. And there are things around there that'll let you talk, but it wasn't. And the last minute it came on. But during that time, it was waiting to get it fixed. And I said, I'm going to walk out towards the mansion, towards the property. I mean, there's a big fence. You can't get in now. They tore down the building, and then they built something else, and people live there. And the closer you got to that area, the heavier the air was. And, it was just, I don't think that's ever going to get fresh and clean anymore. There was too many murders, it was horrible.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. So, but, in David Oman's house, I mean, he's got things going on there all the time. and
I think I see something about that one time.
Yeah, he says he talks to Jay Sebring he talks to, and Sharon Tate he talks to. He says she's there all the time and everything. So, yeah, it's up in the hills. There's only like one house next to him, and then it goes in a different direction, which is where the Tate house was. But it's up there, and it can be kind of creepy. And he wrote a book about it. So yeah, he's got a lot of interesting stories about what goes on over there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I will definitely get a hold of him. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's a good guest.
Here's one. What is one place you have investigated that you'll never go to again and steer clear of?
Oh.
It's for all of us to answer, it says.
Good. I don't know. I mean, okay. All right. I got one.
Okay.
The Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. They had, again, Scott Michaels had a friend who knew stuff that was going on at the hotel. They had a cabana area. This is a hotel where Jane Mansfield, Marilyn Monroe, her mirror, that thing that. So somebody told Scott that there was a haunted room in the cabana. And Scott says, hey, maybe we can go check it out. And I said, well, tell me about it. Well, it happens at people were not staying in that room. They would be checking out in the middle of the night. And one day the maid went in to clean up the place. And all of a sudden, according to her, she saw this man just appear from the waist up, and he had his throat slit. And she just panicked, and she ran out into the hallway and passed out. And they had cameras there, so they saw that she passed out. So we said, okay, well, we'll get a group together. Kenny Kingston was with us at that time. We had a couple of mediums at that time. And when I went to check in, because I have a room under my name, and I went up to the desk, and the guy says, "Oh, you're in this particular room." I said, "Uh-huh." I said, I knew he was just trying to keep quiet. I said, "Is there something wrong with it?" "Oh, no, it's perfect." And I said, "Well, why did you ask?" And he said, "Well, no, just, want to make sure." And I went like this. I went, and he goes, "You know." So we went up there, and it was in the bedroom. It's like it had a small kitchenette, it had a living room, and it had a bathroom and a bedroom, because it's like a little apartment. And it happened in the bedroom, and it was a little creepy in the bedroom. But the funny thing was, nobody wanted to use the bathroom, because the bathroom ran the length of the room. There was a shower here, and then the toilet, and then the dressing room that led from the living room to the bedroom. And there was also another hallway. Nobody that went into the bathroom wanted to go alone. I mean, everybody went in tandem, except Kenny Kingston. Didn't bother him. But everybody, if anybody had to go. And when I walked down there in the shower curtain, it was not a door. I was kind of freaked out when I walked by the tub, because I thought somebody was going to jump out from the shower curtain. But maybe that was my imagination. But long story short, people were taking EVP sessions. People were, getting all this stuff. And then my friend and I were going to stay the night. And if anybody wanted to spend the whole night, nobody did. So my friend Jenny and I, we sat down, and, we were watching TV, and you could go out. We were smoking at the time. So we'd go outside and have a cigarette and come back in. But there was the fireplace between the wall between the living room and the bedroom, so you could see through. And I didn't want to look there, so I'd be looking at the TV upstairs, and my eyes wanted to go. And I told Jenny, I said, "Don't fall asleep. Do not fall asleep," because it really got kind of creepy up there then. And I said, "If you fall asleep and something happens, I'm going to leave your butt on this couch, and I'm going out the door." But we tried to get some EVPs. How do you feel about orbs, you guys? What do you think?
I've actually seen an orb with my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It was just this tiny little green, and it just kind of got a little bigger and a little bigger.
I mean,
and then it was gone. Just
most of it you can,
debunk.
Mm-hmm. But there are some that I've caught over the years that I have no explanation, that in an area that, that there shouldn't have been. And it's always been just one, not a multitude of them. It's always been one. And a couple of them, like one, I'd taken an action photo of it, and it started in the back of a basement, and it made its way to me and went right up in front of the camera. And actually you can see the trail from it. I have no explanation for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, most are dust. Yeah.
And insects and
a
stuff.
lot of people. Yep.
Yeah.
I think the real ones could be spirits. I mean,
There's
I've seen
to it, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go. Are there any paranormal investigations in the Black Dahlia case, or even physical place to do so?
Well, she died.
Man.
She died outside. They found the body outside in a field.
Right.
And you guys all know what it looked like. After several years, they turned that into a residential block. So most people don't know the spot, but people do. There's a fire hydrant in front of a particular house, and they know that that's where she was found. So it's not in the best part of town, so I don't think a lot of people go wandering in there. But but there's no building or anything that you can go in and do. I mean, she used to hang out at this one bar just off of Hollywood Boulevard, and we did something there. But it wasn't about her, but she was one of those people that was always there. It was kind of like a studio thing after work. Lucy and Desi would go there, and all kinds of people, and it's called Bordner's. And but she was a regular there. But there's no place. We don't know the murder scene because she was probably killed somewhere else.
Right.
And her body was dropped there. And I think a lot of people say, well, ghosts, where they die, they stay. Well, no. Why would they?
Not
you got free will. Go or somewhere. You wanted to go to Disneyland before. Well, go now. You can go there. You can walk in the rides and do everything. So I don't think they stay there. I know in cemeteries, a lot of people say that, well, they're all haunted. I don't see that, but I did have one episode when I was there for, I don't know what I was doing there, but it was some kind of work thing. And I was with a group of people, and we were in a particular section, and they had really old tombstones, really big. Hollywood Forever it dates back to the 1800s. And so this is a really big one. And they were doing something. We were shooting for a commercial or so. I don't know what they were doing. Anyway, so I was there, and I put my hand or put my arm on the headstone because it was tall, and I just wanted to kind of lean into something. And all of a sudden, my chest got really tight, and I started to shake, and I thought I was having a panic attack. And I didn't want to say anything to anybody because, it's like, and I'm thinking, oh my God, are they going to call an ambulance or something? Because it was really bad. And I stepped away from there, and honest to God, it went away. So the way I'm thinking of is that person maybe not be there, but left energy there and wanted maybe to tell people how they died. It was a woman, feeling that tightness in the chest or something. It would probably, heart attack. But I just don't think there's a lot of them there. I mean, Bugsy Siegel is there. I went over and looked at him. I didn't get anything over there in the mausoleum. And a lot of actors are buried there. And, to me, it's a very peaceful place. I loved being there. When I was living in Hollywood, now I moved away a little bit. But I used to just like to go there and sit. They had a big lake, and they had geese and, critters running around and stuff. And I love it. And other people will walk into a cemetery and just want to run out. They just don't like it.
I think the same way. I mean, that's all AOP did one summer was nothing but graveyards and cemeteries.
Yeah.
And I was never one where we ever wanted to run away from anything. I mean, there was some strange stuff that went on, but never to where I didn't want to go in there or run away.
Yeah.
Here we go. How active is Hollywood Boulevard and around the area, Alcatraz?
Well, Alcatraz is in San Francisco, so I don't know much about that. Hollywood Boulevard, when I was talking about the Wax Museum, it's on Hollywood Boulevard. And we went over, there was a display of the Last Supper, wax figures sitting there. And I mean, that place was so bad that, the people were throwing coins into this dish on the plate in front of Jesus, and it kept knocking holes in his forehead. It was terrible. Yeah, they finally took away that one. But we were there, and all of a sudden the medium with us was walking around in circles. She was going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I'm looking at her, and I said, Victoria, what's up? She goes, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. And I said, who are you? Because she picked up somebody. And she gave a name, and I said, well, you don't need to be here. Are you lost? And she says, yes, I'm lost. And I kind of said, Vicky, come out of it, please, because she always did good stuff to fix that. So she was okay. And she says, this is a young girl. And she said, she's lost. She was a runaway. And Hollywood Boulevard for a long time had a lot of runaways. Kids went there. Well, let's go to Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. And so Vicky called upstairs and said, please send somebody down to take her because she's scared and she's lost. But she was one of those runaways, and she didn't say how she died, but she was like trapped right there in the Wax Museum. God forbid that was a bad place. But so everything got quiet for a minute, and Victoria's looking, and then Victoria's looking like she's looking up and she's looking down, and she said, her grandmother is here. And the minute she said that, she saw that teenage girl run to her grandmother, and they went up. But Hollywood Boulevard has a lot of places, a lot of history. The bank building I was telling you about, that was on Hollywood Boulevard. There are a lot of old buildings there, really neat old buildings that have stories and stuff. And just walking down the street, I always think that if you're walking down a busy street, you're looking around at people, I really think that some of those aren't alive. I think ghosts kind of show themselves and they mingle, and I think it's that way with Hollywood Boulevard. I think, all the transient people, there are so many bad stories there. That restaurant, Musso and Frank, where all the celebrities used to hang out and stuff. That place is in fact, Bernie Coppell took me there for lunch one day, and we had all these character actors that hey, Bernie, hey, what do you, it's like, wow, well, this is cool. But yeah, all of those places have history, and where there's history, there is often hauntings.
Yes.
So yeah, Hollywood Boulevard is definitely busy.
Kathy wants to know, have you ever gone to the Cecil Hotel?
No, I haven't. Again, my friend Scott Michaels, he went with Ghost Adventures, Zach and whoever else, I forget the other name. He went there. It's a beautiful place on the inside. It's in a really bad neighborhood.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of history, and Scott went into several of the rooms there, and he said he was very uncomfortable because there's more, there's a story about the woman that drowned it in the tank, and then there's, the serial killer, Ramirez lived there, one that terrorized Los Angeles. So it's got a lot of bad mojo in there. But no, I've never, I would go probably if somebody said, well, come on, let's do it. And yeah, I would, but I've never had the opportunity.
Oh, I would, in a heartbeat. I don't even have to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything, so many people I know that are ghost investigators and stuff, everything's back east. Nothing is out here. And we've got so much out here that it's a shame. Everybody, it's the East Coast, and, it's kind of weird because they don't really come out here and find out. We've got the Queen Mary, which is an interesting boat,
Yeah.
But just about every place that you go, there's some history. The Formosa Cafe, we did an investigation there, and that's right across the street, and it's not even a busy street. It's a small street across from one of the studios, and everybody used to go to there. And they've got pictures all over the walls of all the actors that have been there. And that place is haunted to the point that we found out who was there. You go in there sometimes and you ask if you think you can get away with it. You ask the people that work there, has anything, strange happened here, whatever. And we went in not expecting anything. And all of a sudden, everybody that worked in that place was coming up to us with stories. So we investigated, and the owner was a Chinese gentleman. and I don't know, it was in the 30s or whatever that he got it, and he was the cook and the chief bottle washer too, and it was kind of made into like a cable car kind of thing. John Wayne has a booth back there, or had a booth back there. Tongue twisters. But we went in there, and my friend, the medium, went into the kitchen and, was looking around. And I was looking at pictures on the wall, and I was with the grandson who was running it now. And he said, "Look, there's my grandfather. That's his picture." And it was in a room far away. And so Victoria comes out and she's laughing. And I said, "Did you meet anybody?" And she said, "It was this Chinese man, and he was holding a meat cleaver. And he was telling me to get out of here because it's his kitchen." I said, "Well, what did he look like?" And she said, and she started to describe him. And I looked at the grandson looked at me. She had described his grandfather, or her grandfather. So we walked over there. I said, "Come here, Vicki, I want you to see this." And she hadn't been in that section where all those pictures at that particular place were. And she looked up at the picture. I said, "Is that him?" She goes, "Oh my God, yes." I said, "Well, it's a good thing you ran out because he had the cleaver going to get you." But, I mean, it's John Wayne's stuff is really fun. I mean, he's got a good story there too. I mean,
oh yeah, I bet.
He all right. So he got really friendly with the owners, and he would get a little too drunk some days and didn't want to drive home. So they would lock up. They would lock him up and let him stay there. So that happened one night, and the next morning, the owner came in to open up the store, and he smelled something cooking. And he's walking towards the kitchen, and John Wayne's sitting there, and he goes, "Hey, how do you like your eggs?" And he was so comfortable. He went in the kitchen and made himself breakfast and made them for the other guy too. Because that was one of his hangouts, and he was really comfortable there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're almost out of time. So, yes, young man, I know. Stop. We're going to do the drawing right quick.
Yay.
And here we go. He's a two-time winner.
Got a good luck charm there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right quick, if you want to tell everybody where they can find you and find your books and stuff right quick.
I think the best place is marlabrooks.com, because all the pages, we've got a page for the show, we've got a page for the books, we've got a page. I do a weekly card reading on Facebook, a free one every Monday. So go to my Facebook page, it's Marla Brooks. And I also do a spell of the week. And so you can learn a spell of the week. And so that's on Facebook, and it also goes on my website too. So just about anything. And then the show, Stirring the Cauldron is the name, 9:00 Eastern on Para X Radio Network. And I'm almost there. So yeah, we're doing good. That's where you can find me.
Thank you very much again for being on. It's been an awesome show. Learned a lot, and love to have you back again.
All right, anytime. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. And we're going to end the show right quick, like I always do. Peace. And remember, a smile and a hug goes a long ways, everybody. It really does. Be safe. And as always, we love you.